beautiful day, and we are over, where are we, Jim?
Well, we're in one of them places where we seldom go. You know, we've been a couple times to La Crosse County.
Yeah?
We've done a few videos in Trempealeau County. And there's some people in the other county here next door are getting jealous. So now we're in Buffalo County, and we're going to do a quick overview here in Buffalo County, driving down to the town of Waumandee. The early settlers came to Waumandee in 1863, which was a year before Trempealeau. Muffler shop they do not have in Waumandee. But anyhow, it was a year before Trempealeau became a county. And they settled here in Upper Montana. Was one of the first places here. We're at the Montana Methodist Church here.
Okay.
And this is the oldest congregation in Buffalo County. The original log church was built 1857 probably, maybe a little bit sooner. They had masses in the home like most of the county.
No, if they're Methodist, they're not having masses.
They're having whatever kind of a religious gatherings in their home.
Okay.
I suspect the early settlers, I think, was just like in the military. You didn't really care what denomination the minister or preacher was. One or more is gathered, I think, is the words that we always used.
Well, let's walk over here so we can look at the surroundings here. This is a beautiful church, and it's what, built 1916?
Yes, the second church, they outgrew the first log church. The second church was built around 1880, a little bit earlier, give or take, and that one burnt down 1915. They did salvage the bell from the second church, and I think there were some centis, I think, were in on that, and they put the original bell back into this one here. This land originally belonged to Charles Kinsey. And Junior. Senior was right up the road. He arrived in around 1853. A lot of the history here in Trempealeau and Buffalo County are kind of in the same boat. We have information that always seems to conflict. You look in one book, they said the word Waumandee in the Dakota language means the land of the War Eagle. And the next book tells you it's the land of cool and clear spring water.
Oh, that's nice, though.
So whichever, Waumandee comes out.
Okay.
The early surveyors said there's some of the nicest land you could imagine here in the Waumandee Valley. And there's land where he said you can go and you could tip over with a 3-section drag. So there is some steeper terrain around here, but there are some large, nice farms here. The early farmers could make a go of it with a small grub stake. But a lot of the farmers that came, I said they did try to grub stake it. Work it for 5 years and then I'll go make a claim. Well, some of them passed away before the 5 years was up. So I said the original records, you have to go to Elma and really look who it says was there. So the records we're going to use today, it's a plaque book from 1878, which is still 25 years after the first settlers came here. And I said, what really will help us a lot, we have an author from Waumandee area. And Laverne Ripley just passed away here now recently, within the last year or so. He was just a few houses down here. He was born, he went to the school down here. He was a teacher and administrator. He wrote 18 books in his lifetime.
18?
And one of them he wrote was on Buffalo County here, Waumandee, his hometown. And he talked about the early settlers and what they experienced and who they were and some of the early businesses. He and his wife Barbara compiled this book, and they had a lot of help from his sister, Mrs. Elsie Bromer, Daniel Bromer's wife. And I talked to Elsie and Dan, and they helped me with some information here for today. Do not bet the farm on everything we say today, because like I said, we're looking at records here that are over 100 years old, and one book could be only a day or two from somebody moving in, or a day or two before he passed away. But we're going to start, I says, here at the Montana Church. We'll go down, we'll kind of say who's on a farm as we're going by and who used to be on that farm. And with that, I think we're almost ready to go. The book...
This is Upper Waumandee.
This is Upper Waumandee.
Now this is interesting over here because written up there, it's written in German, isn't it?
Being I can't read it, it must be German.
It just says that the church, it's an evangelical church, I'm not sure what Gemeinschaft means, but it's interesting that this is German Methodism, which I guess was a little different according to one of my neighbors.
Well, most of the people there, Laverne said, were Irish or German.
Yeah.
And we will see that as we go through the valley up here, there's a few business and such are definitely a German, orientation.
Then there were the Swiss Germans too. Yeah.
Well, they're all U.S. citizens now, so
Yeah.
it's all the same.
And the original ones are all on the ground here, so. But
Yeah.
this we thought was the little village of Montana. You said it had a blacksmith shop?
There were two blacksmith shops up here, I said earlier, and I says, years ago you had to have a blacksmith. There was no welder, there was no way to get around.
Right. Okay, so but this was mainly a German or Swiss German community.
Yes.
Yeah. And this church is still functioning.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
active. I said, there was one, like I said, the first ones here in the county, I said, and the people supported it, and they rebuilt the new church. This church was built in a matter of a year or so, I says, from the fire, they were right back on the job and reestablished the church. So I says, like all the communities that we talk about, when it comes to churches, I think every third farm or fourth at the most should have been a church.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Catholic, Protestant, whatever religion it is. That these older people, I said, they were really strong in their religious faith, no matter which nationality or religion they followed. So
yeah, they said like the first two things that they normally did was they established a school and a church, or at least someplace where a minister could come, even if they were just meeting in.
Yeah, because here I said when they came, there were log cabins, and those that didn't have the option to get that up in time, there were soddies built. Sure. And they came here by ox, and they came here. Whatever transportation, most of them through Fountain City. There were no roads from Fountain City to get here. It was just Indian Trail over the hill. In the spring it was mud, and in the summer it was dry dust. But I says, these people scratched a living here, and I says, they turned out well. Yeah. And it's like all of them. I says, these people were hardworking. They didn't live long, but I says, they were prosperous.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we'll mount up and we'll continue down.
We'll take our camera lady along here. Yes. We got Mary backing us up here, but she doesn't want to say anything right now.
She's being shy.
Okay.
So we are mounted up. We are in the car, and we got Jim up front, and we got Mary in the back. She's the camera lady. Well, I always have been telling Mary, I don't know why she can't just sit up on top of my car, up on the roof, because then she would really get some terrific shots.
Yeah, but the same law applies. Riding in the back of a pickup is against the law, and I suspect riding on a roof would be the same thing. One thing I did not mention about this Montana church.
Yeah.
It's one of 4 churches located in the valley, and there would be 5 churches if we count Lavender Lilies on top of the hill up here, which was a mission of the Waumandee Church.
And you're talking about the old Catholic mission up on Tyson Ridge.
But there's 4 churches.
Yeah.
There's 4 cemeteries.
Yep.
But I said now there's only 2 churches. Well, we will show you where these churches were.
Now the other one is the old Methodist church up on the ridge, right? Where there is not a building anymore.
Yeah, that's one of these 5 churches.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's not in our loop here.
No. But there was a church there.
Yes.
Yes, and it got
yeah.
Okay.
St. Peter and Paul. St. Peter and Paul.
No, you got the wrong one.
Oh well, then. Oh yeah, you're by the other cemetery.
They're fighting.
If there's a cemetery, there's a church.
I'm in the back seat all by myself.
Now this here little homestead, I'm not sure who lives here. I didn't dig into this because you can tell it's a little newer. On the left side here, from here to Hesh Valley belongs to Pronjinsky. It's the Pronjinsky Rolling Acres. They've bought 2-3 farms through here. This lady is a Pronjinsky living here with his chicken coop here business. But this was Francis Bork's big flats out over here.
Okay, now Jim, I'm moving the camera back over, and on the right side is Bork's.
On the right side is Bork's.
This side is Pronjinsky.
This is the Pronjinsky's, and it runs over the hill and over into Hesh Valley. It runs behind Rogers' farm up here.
Okay, and right up here with the harvester in the white buildings is the Bork farm.
Yes. It's even got a sign in the front yard. It's a cheater, that way I'll remember who all these people were. You know, I went to a lot of events out here. There were social events at the church and such. So, you know, social events at the church and that. So that's how you got to meet these people.
Bork Farms, okay.
And I said, a nice land here, a flat.
Yeah.
I said, I can imagine with a 2-row corn planter, it was a little bit sickening. But although they didn't plant as much corn as they do nowadays, but even so, cutting hay with a 5-foot sycamore behind horses couldn't have been a thrill a minute either. And like I said, these here, a couple little homes were added later. I didn't look who was even into them.
Okay.
These are just smaller acreage.
And we're headed southwest.
You're
right?
headed southwest
Yeah,
here.
okay.
Now this next farm on the left up here, now this belonged to Roger and Peggy Sopa.
Oh, Sopa, okay.
Connie used to be a big horse puller from Arcadia.
Sure,
This is his boy Roger was a cream hauler here, a milk hauler for a number of years. Bought this farm, and his wife unfortunately passed away already from cancer. But I says, Roger has this farm here and runs along the left side up to a little ways past the creek. On the right side here, coming up this gray building right down here, is the Waumandee School. This is the second school that was built in 1958.
And this was not a Montana school, it was Waumandee.
It was called Lincoln School.
Oh.
And this is by the junction of Double E.
Yeah, like I said, Roger Sopa's here.
And we're on U? Right?
We're on U, and we're taking this U all the way down to Anchorage.
Okay, and there's the Waumandee.
See, the Waumandee School apartments now.
Apartments, okay.
It belonged to the Arcadia School District, and it was sold when that person passed away. Roseno Farms here bought it. Rosen Farms bought it. Right across the creek here, there's nothing here now, but this is where the original school stood. 1938, 39 maps. They'll show you this wooden schoolhouse stood right here along this creek. And it was moved from here to Scheidegger Implement in Waumandee itself. Now this is a joint farmership, but I said John Roseno runs it. Is Rosenham, yeah. Farms. John Roseno runs this. He's in with Wolf. They run together here. They sell compost you can get here for your garden.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, he's one of the bigger farmers here. His great-grandfather settled this farm, Johann Roseno, born 1847, died in 1898. He arrived in 1862. He's a Civil War veteran, and then when he started here, he built the barn. He started up, and then it's been handed down family to family. And I said, now John has expanded quite a bit, and I said he's doing quite well here. And
Now that gray building right there looks like an old timer, doesn't it?
we'd have to go and check the date on the rafters there. Chronology.
But the foundation looks old.
Yeah, it's slab sandstone.
Yeah. And this is where Roseno's.
Yeah, this is John's house.
Pretty house.
Now next to here, there was a lot of activity. We'll stop every in this corner.
Okay.
There used to be, right in this area, there was a blacksmith shop. There was a store on this side. And this store over here was set up by Fred Nichols. He started a cheese factory.
Up here, right?
Right here by this, right in this area, there was a cheese factory here.
And that's Wolf Road, so you can make a reference.
And he started making cheese here, and it was bought out by Messrs. W.P. Messrs. in Arcadia.
Oh, Arcadia.
Yeah, and it ran till 1892. Then there was we'll stop here, and they and had a little disagreement with the membership and whatever else, and it closed in 1892. Then in 1904, on the left here, they started the Waumandee Creamery, which was called
Garden Valley?
Garden Valley, yeah, was a piece of that. Right now it's called La Mesa Natural Food and Cheese Factory. Okay. I talked to John here just the other night, and John said basically, he says they pack organic food here. He says take a big bucket of peanut butter and put it in smaller jars. But he said that's what they've done with the creamery. But that creamery was established in 1904. It was Garden Valley Creamery. Then it was bought out by by Wisconsin Dairies, and then that closed in 2012. On this side here, on the right side,
That's what, Alcivia, it says?
yeah, it's Waumandee Garden Valley Co-op feed store and fertilizer thing here. I'm not sure which years that started.
So did they call this Garden Valley right here, this little
I
conglomeration of buildings?
can't tell you. Might be contradictory information, so I'm not going to say. I'm not positive here. And see, on the left here, there should be Justin Wolf's farm, and that was J.C. Gantz's farm in 1854 when Gantz settled up in this area here. And this would have been the home place for Elsie Bromer and Laverne Ripley. And it used to be a Runkle farm in 1854.
Okay.
Another large farm here. I says, every farm here in Waumandee, I said, it's got some nice land, big acreage, you know.
Yeah.
Big flattish.
Yeah.
Flat, fertile valley and nice place.
Waumandee had a lot of industry, I says, as far as the early settlers when they came in here. I think I got a list here I was going to look at. But you know, the Prunzinskis were big families, so bound to be a lot of offspring, you know.
Lots of boys, as I remember, ran in the Prunzinski family.
But I said, you know, every farm here is just wonderful land. You can see why these settlers came here and why they wanted to stay.
Prunzinski with a C. That's important.
I usually look if it's E or I on the end, and that kind of keeps it straight.
And now who's over here on the left?
On the left is the Stenelbach farm. Now, that John Stenelbach, 1862 was what they got on the map here for this upcoming farm. And it's still John Stenelbach. But like Rosenau Farm was the same thing. It was Johann, which they called John Rosenau when he came in 1862 also. But this, like I said, this upper end, the Kinchies are here where the Montana Church was, 1853, 1855. But get into here, I said, ready, a little bit, 10 years later or so, Waumandee was ready, starting to get settled. People are buying acreage of what they can. Some are being homesteaded. And then most of them were starting out, you know, with just 40 acres. And then they'd buy another 40, buy another 40. I said, there could have been somebody before that, but I said, the records we had, you know, that's as far as I could get back without going up to Elma and looking up every farm individually.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it takes a while, and especially when you only got 40 acres. I know some of these flats are over 40 acres. Well, this is Rick Ryder's, I guess, the second farm, let's put it that way. Rick lives down on the other side of the town. But this is Rick's second farm here, and used to belong to a guy named Crumdick. And I could not find a burial for this guy or any kind of a date or whenever he came or whenever he left. But that's who it says it was. And like I said, Rick lives on the other side of Waumandee down there, so this is like his second farm. Ryder's owned quite a bit of land here. I said they're big farmers. One of his forefathers, one time he harvested 7,000 bushels of wheat. Wow. I mean, how many acres would you have? And I don't know if there's a thrash machine involved, but I sure hope there was, because my gosh.
Waumandee.
That's what the sign says now. Yeah. Like I said, the Native Americans, it might be, it's either an eagle something or else it's just good water. So yeah, we're in good shape either way. There was an article in the newspaper here about in the 60s, I think. I had a few pictures of Waumandee and talked about the early present owners of you know, the village here who was living here. Now this here is a Schmitnick farm in here. Tom Schmitnick is this here, just right before town. He owns a strip of land through here. And this used to be a Rupert, and that Crumdick owned part of this here. A lot of this land, if you read Laverne's book, it's been sold and resold and sold again and passed off for mortgage, and all the early farmers, it was that way. People did stay, some didn't. Schmitnick. Now, like I said, there's a number of homes in Waumandee here, and like I said, the owners keep changing, and some needs work, some don't. I said, but
right now we're in the burbs.
Yeah, we're moving into the Vesta here. See, on the left there's a decorated yard. This belongs to Roger Comro. He's got a few knickknacks in his front yard.
Then that way you don't have to mow so much.
Yeah, he's kind of got that figured out. He's got the in thing there.
Yeah. And then there's some real different art here. You know?
Well, this art on this side was done by Louis Zeller. Louis got his arm caught in a shredder.
Oh.
And, well, you know what a shredder does when it gets a hold of something. So with one arm, then he was building all these knickknacks here in his lawn here.
Wow. Look at that. What has he got, like a house or something back there?
I suspect, yeah, it looks like it might have been a grotto at one time, I suppose. You know, probably was a statue in there or something, you know. One of them garden gnome things, maybe. I'm not sure which, you know.
But I think it was probably the Virgin Mother.
That could be possible. That could be too.
But what's he got up there? A bear?
He's got a bear, and it looks like wearing an apron or something.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's a little bear. But
oh, and here's a church. Isn't this cool?
But like I said, Zeller built all this. So they said one arm, but he was keeping busy.
Goodness.
And it's got to be made out of all local stone, probably stuff he gathered down at the creek or something here. You know what I mean?
It's beautiful. Now that's true folk art.
Now the gray house on the left here, that's Schmitnick home also. It used to be the place for Ray Killian's Trucking, and owned by J. Mans, I guess, in 1854. And then coming up here, I said on the left should be our fire station.
The place with the flags, I was going to say.
Yep. Yeah. And this fire station here is where Ray Everett's had his garage. And across the road he had a blacksmith shop in this here place here that seems to need just a little bit TLC.
Oh, right here. This was the blacksmith shop. Okay.
But I says he was one of the leading industry people here back in the day, you know. This building here belonged now to Vilas Odunk, but it was Anton Huddle's gas and garage. Then after a while, in the home next door, that house is gone, there even was a post office in this.
Do they have a post office over here now?
Not now,
no.
But there was. Okay. And then on that side, where the gray houses, this has all been ripped out and changed. That is where the Cockendorfer meat market was. There was a boarding house in there. There was where
the gray house.
Yes, and this whole street back here that belonged to the Cockendorfer. There was a slaughterhouse back in here. There was a lumber yard in here. They even had an ice house in this thing here. Then I says, way on the end down there, the last house, a yellow house down there on the left, that is Elsie and Dan Bromer's house. Okay. Marvel Tents. So I said that's.
What do you think that machine is right there on the corner?
It's a cultivator.
A cultivator?
Yeah, and it's still on the tractor. The tractor needs a little TLC, but it's a two-row cultivator on the tractor.
Okay.
Now we
got the
heavy traffic again. I tell you, go by that flag house over there. Okay. That used to be the post office here at one time.
This did.
There was a post office there. Mrs. Herbert was in there. She had it.
What was her name? Erberg?
Yeah.
So where did she have the post office?
Just in her home.
Huh.
And across the road, I said we had Regline and Hesch are down in here. They built in here because we had Harold's Welding was in here. Dwayne Harold. Yeah, he was in the back lot of the meat market. He was in the back there, and they ripped that shop down. And Harold started in 1928. When he was 18 years old, he was doing welding here in Waumandee. Yeah, it was Earl Benning's Trucking.
Oh, okay. We got it.
Because
now,
I says he had
what was in the vacant lot?
There was a home in here. I forgot whose it was. I don't remember. Because I think it belonged here to the store. I could be totally wrong. Don't bet the farm on what we're telling you today. We could be off by a house or two. Because I questioned this building here, but it's been here a long time.
It's an old timer, isn't it?
This one has locker plant in the back.
Oh, this store has been, as fast as you could change socks, it's probably went through ownership. There's been many people here. I think I even had, I had summer sausage made here, and I think I'd even drank a few beers here. But Joe Avery started it in 1858. Then it was sold to a Herman Fry around 1890. And from then it's been going, and Curtis Rotering owned it last, and then he sold it now to Jesse Dietrich. And I'm not sure where Jesse is from or whatever, but within the last year or two, it's been sold off to the Jesse.
I remember this store because they had everything you could want,
Yeah.
possibly. And if they couldn't find it up front, if you went into the back and dug around, you would find it. Whatever it is that you were looking for, it was there.
Well, just like the Cranberry store out there too had a lot of things on hand. They were the lacrosse plow company and all that stuff. Stop you. All that stuff at the Cranberry store you had to ask the clerk for. They had to get it off the shelf behind you. It wasn't self-service. The empty lot right across the road here now, that's where Nicholas Bach's home used to be. Nicholas owned the Waumandee Inn, the house down here. He also owned the land behind where the cemetery is now.
You mean the one over the cemetery?
St. Boniface Cemetery in the back also belonged to Nicholas over here. He went fishing here in winter. It was December or so, but water I suspect was open. He cut across the pasture and somebody's bull got a hold of him. That's how Nicholas ended up.
Oh.
But it was a
The bull killed him?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, bad way to go fishing, but
yeah.
anyhow. Then after Nicholas, then I said Mike Benuza, he owned a house before it was torn down here. And he bought the trucks from Art Scheidegger down here when Art quit his trucking business. Benuza bought it, and then he took over the milk trucking and doing some of the other line stuff. Well, then we'll do the Waumandee house here now.
Now this is an old building, though, isn't it?
Well, it's not that old because it burnt down. But
But not
18,
the brick part.
1879, that brick part. But the original building, 1862,
Oh, okay.
see, she was gone, and Nicholas Bach had it in 1870. It used to be the stagecoach stops.
Well, we had so much ground to cover that we had to break our tour into 2 parts. So we will be back for part 2 with more secrets of Waumandee.